I made the Youth Olympics, as you said, and then so I was going overseas to Singapore to race, and yeah, so I had to take out a pro license. So basically...
So Boulder in 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
Yeah, so I go to Andorra in 3 weeks, and then I'll go into Boulder after that.
Yeah.
So I'll race on the 4th of July, and then I'll go straight to Boulder from there.
And how long have you been in Boulder?
This will be my 8th year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you started, because you were training in Spain before that.
Yeah, 2011, 12, and 13.
Awesome.
Yeah,
That's a commitment.
Yeah, just for the summer months.
Welcome back to the Outspoken show. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. We've got a guest on today's show, Ellie Salthouse, who at 17... who at 17 went pro as a triathlete, earned a silver medal at the Youth Olympic Games. Not long after, she stepped back from the sport, only to return 6 months later into the ironwoman, earning multiple titles and placing 5th at the World Championships. Welcome, Ellie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You, 17, went pro.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane to still be in
Straight
high
in
school.
the deep end.
That's literally. What's going pro as a triathlete?
Well, actually, with Triathlon Australia comes, with your pro license comes like a bunch of insurance to travel overseas and race overseas without any concern. So that was really the ultimate reason why I went pro so young. I made the Youth Olympics, as you said, and then so I was going overseas to Singapore to race, and yeah, so I had to take out a pro license. So basically, you qualify by achieving like a certain standard, and then yeah, you can just take out the pro license.
So you're better protected by Triathlon Australia?
Yeah, so it comes with like professional athlete insurance. So yeah, you have all like the travel insurance, and then if anything goes wrong, obviously everything's kind of covered. And
what's going wrong? Is that
like if you have to go to hospital, for instance, or something like that, then you have coverage. Yeah.
And so was this like your ticket to travel the world, or was this your ticket to get more in depth with triathlons? Like what at 17, I probably would be taking the viewpoint of, hell yes, this is my opportunity to see a little bit of the world. Like, let's ride this train for as long as possible. What drove you to do that? Because that's a massive commitment at 17.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to go professional. I just thought it would happen after school, after high school. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of, a few months before I graduated. So it was neither here nor there, really. But yeah, it was probably the push that I needed to take out my pro card, and then once I did graduate high school, I had it, and then I could go straight into racing on the professional circuit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
wow? And like, what do other people in school think? Is it a thing like in American sports, basketball, NFL? Like going to the draft, going from that amateur to pro is a massive transition. Is it of such in triathlon, or is it a thing that gets speaked about?
I guess it's not as big of a deal, obviously. Like, there's no draft or any of those kind of things. But I guess we have a junior circuit, so it's a 16 to 19 years. So I was still part of that, and you don't have to be professional to race that circuit. So I guess racing that was kind of an introduction to being pro. So no one really knows. There's no big congratulations, you're professional now. It's just, you take out the card, you pay for the license, and then that's basically it.
So you got to pay to go pro?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, you got to. Well, it comes with insurance, so I guess you got to pay
that makes
insurance.
Sense.
Seems like a bit of a better transition that way, because there's not so much pressure on you. Like going pro, you can go about it your own way. Not many, because in a lot of other sports, when you go pro, there's so much attention on you. It can kind of make it hard to focus in on the training. You appreciate that aspect of it, at least?
Yeah, I guess with triathlon, it's not like football or something. When you go pro, you're with a team, you have all these expectations on you, and you have to, uphold certain standards. With triathlon, it's individual, so you have your own sponsors and things like that. So going pro means that you can race at the professional level races, but it doesn't necessarily come with anything other than that.
So you're excluded from those pro races without your pro card?
Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
And so now I can only race the professional category races, and I can't race as what we call an age grouper, so in my age category. Yeah.
And the World Championships, is that the pinnacle of triathlon? Or because you now transitioned out of triathlon, but was that the pinnacle of triathlon?
Yeah, well, because I'm still doing triathlon, but I'm racing I specialize in the 70.3 or half Ironman distance. So yeah, for the pinnacle of my distance is the World Championship, and we have two separate, I guess there's, two separate brands, I guess, that sanction the races. So we've got Ironman and Challenge, and they both have a World Championship attached to them.
Every time I hear Ironman, I just think of Nutri-Grain. Remember the Nutri-Grain ads?
Wrong sport.
That's what I think about every time, but I know it's not relevant.
Wait, so it's a different sport?
It's a different sport.
Yeah, different sport, but every time I hear Ironman, I just can't get it out of my head.
I thought, so wait, how's the difference work? I know, like, because the Nutri-Grain Ironman was the beach sort of
Yeah.
run, surf, ski. Mm-hmm. So they're two completely different organizations that run different events?
Yeah, entirely different sports.
Oh, okay.
So we're like swim, bike, run, obviously, and then you've got the Nutri-Grain series, which I don't think they're even allowed to call it Ironman anymore.
No, exactly, yeah.
And they're the surf, ski, and the open water swim, and then paddle or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's what always got
like
me.
a
It's
doggy
like,
paddle.
because they've switched their names and they've come under a little bit of fire because it was called very similar things. It still just stuck with me because those ads, they were effective
Great
ads.
branding.
They
Great
were
branding.
effective
Well,
ads.
change, because triathlon's better.
Yeah, triathlons are pretty cool. What's your favourite element of the triathlon? Because I look at that and I'm like, cycling. But
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's different, of course.
Yeah, I think for me, running's probably my favorite, just because like I've grown up running, like it comes naturally to me. Like, I think every kid kind of like knows how to run at least, and so it's still my favorite.
What do you think the majority of triathletes' favourite is?
Maybe riding, I think, because you can see a lot, go on like kind of adventures a lot more when you ride and stuff like that. It's a lot more social than say swimming, but yeah, I mean, I think it's really what you're good at. People like, obviously.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
Are there many transitions of good cyclists then who go, okay, well, I guess it probably doesn't make sense if you're dominating a sport to leave it, but we'll try and venture into triathlon?
Yeah, there's actually quite a few, because you spend so much of the race on the bike, especially in like the long course races, like the half Ironman or the full Ironman. Majority of the race is on the bike, so being a strong cyclist is a huge advantage. And then as long as you can, I guess, have some conditioning, maybe on the swim and the run, you can actually be very successful at it, coming from a cycling background. So yeah, but typically people come from either swimming or running. They're the two.
What's the prettiest course that you've cycled on?
Oh, I've raced in a lot of pretty places. Like Boulder, obviously, like my second home. That's really beautiful, like with the mountains. Then I've raced in the Bahamas. I raced,
a lot of cool places.
a lot of cool places.
Fly Festival.
I'm very lucky.
I feel like that would probably be the draw for myself to go into triathlons, would be like seeing the world from all these three different viewpoints. I mean, running, as you said, like it's a little bit slower, but because you're going at that slower pace, you can enjoy a little bit more. The cycling, you get to see more of the
But the
countryside.
toll on your body is so much
Yeah,
more.
you got to weigh up the pain.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy it when you're in that much pain.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's
Probably in
Yeah.
hindsight, if you had filmed a GoPro on your chest, you get to watch everything.
Yeah,
Might
watch your
be
back
better.
later.
strange appreciation, hindsight appreciation. How come you decided to go for the half Ironman? Is there a distance factor, or like what weighs on your mind when deciding that?
Well, I came from racing the ITU distance, which is the short course Olympic distance stuff, which I wasn't as successful at as I would have liked. Like I was never fast enough to go to the Olympics per se. So that was the reasoning for transitioning to the longer distance, the half Ironman distance. But yeah, I just never really had a desire to do a full Ironman. And I guess having the speed coming from the shorter distance, it kind of correlates over to the half as well. The training's very similar. It's just some obviously longer miles because the race is twice the distance. But yeah, I mean, it's still a race where you can race probably 8 to 9 times a year, recover, and then go again. And as opposed to full Ironman, you maybe get 2 chances a year to race. So yeah, it does take a lot of toll on the body.
Like, because everyone sort of, when you say you can only have a couple of chances at racing because of the effect on the body, what science plays into figuring that out, and the recovery science that goes into that?
To be honest, I don't know. I've never done an Ironman, so I think everyone's really different. I think age comes into it, conditioning, obviously, like how long you've been training and racing for the event. I think there's so many different factors. Nutrition would be a huge one. If you like fuel properly during the race, I would say the recovery would be a lot easier on the other side or quicker on the other side. But yeah, I mean, there's so many factors, as well as like obviously the terrain, the conditions of the actual race. But as I said, I haven't done one, so I don't know.
that in race nutrition, is there a strat? Like, it sounds like there's a strategy. What are you going through during the race?
Well, there's definitely a strategy, and it's a lot of trial and error, because obviously everyone's really different, and a lot of people's stomachs are, quite vulnerable when you're out there racing, because you do have to consume quite a lot of carbohydrate, electrolyte, that kind of thing when you're out on course. So for me, I aim for like 30 grams of carbs an hour. So whether that be in the form of like gels, which is for me, but a lot of people like to take in solid foods, just something to actually physically chew. But yeah, I take most of mine in gels, and then sports drink, Gatorade, that kind of thing. So
what's 30 grams of carbs look like to the average person?
It's pretty much like a muesli bar.
Okay.
One standard bar. Yeah.
So it's bugger all in the real world. Like I look at a meal and I'm like, dinner plate with a steak and veg. You're just like,
it's not a
burger.
It's funny you say that though, because I was doing a 60-kilometer run earlier this year, and one of the first things I ate was a muesli bar, and I'm like, no, I can't. Like, I think I maybe got halfway through and I just couldn't do it. And so trial and error. I had never done anything that long before. I did like a 20-kilometer run 2 years prior, I think it was. Yep. So not ideal preparation. So I didn't do that trial and error of the food thing. So I was doing it during the run.
You're forgetting to mention that shin splints.
Yes,
hardly
ran
anywhere over 10K.
I didn't, but yeah.
Oh no.
So but that trial and error, which must come after months or years of figuring it out. What works for you?
Yeah, well, I think the most important thing is to try things in training and, try lots of different things, use a lot of different brands. So previously I've used different brands of the gels, and now obviously being with Gatorade Endurance, they have a very, a liquidy gel. So for me that works well because it's like drinking something and I don't physically have to chew it. So that works really well for me. But yeah, I guess some people prefer, the feeling of something solid, and other people, they like to have everything in liquid form. So yeah, it's really just personal preference.
I'll cut you off now. If you're watching or listening right now, the first 3 people to DM our Instagram at Outspoken Show, Ellie's a boss, will get sent a $20 gift card to a place of their choice. You get to choose whatever. We'll send it to you. Uber Eats, I don't know what your thing is. After you do that, make sure you come back to hear what's next on the show.
Shameless plug.
I like the promo code.
We do a different one every time, because you know what? If our audience is going to sit here and listen, we want to reward that. So we try to keep it different rather than just Outspoken Show 1, 2, 3 each episode. I mean, that'd be boring, wouldn't it? So
and it'd be too predictable.
It would be.
It would be too predictable. So you could
preempt.
You could, yeah. You could. You keep them nimble.
Yeah.
You spoke about your sleep routine as well. I was reading up in your blog.
Mm-hmm.
How have you gone to develop that as well?
I guess another thing that's kind of trial and error, but I try and get a minimum of 8 hours sleep a night. So that's really important for me. I think the best form of recovery is sleep. And there's all these other things you can do to enhance that, but I think ultimately sleep is the best tool. I use the blue light blocking glasses before bed, all that kind of thing. I put the screens down, and then straight into 8-10 hours sleep.
That's so interesting that you say that that it's the most efficient form of recovery, because I believe that as well. Mm-hmm. I also think that having a little bit of magnesium in your diet throughout the week, it goes tenfold into your recovery. Yeah. And I recently got one of my workmates into trying turmeric in his meals, and then magnesium once every 3 days after training before bed. And he come into work the next day and said that he's never felt so sore and yet recovered from sleep. And he reckons it's the sleep and magnesium. Now he's hooked on it.
Yeah,
he's I'm 100%. Addicted to 8 to 10 hours sleep. It's brilliant.
Yeah, no, I take magnesium every day, and I swear by it as well. Yeah, but I think for me the biggest thing has been since introducing those blue light blocking glasses, my sleep is just so deep.
Do you know what you should try? Grab yourself a pair of noise cancelling earmuffs, just from Bunnings or whatever, the ones people use when they're mowing the lawns. That's what I put on. If I'm really struggling because maybe there's too much going on, my phone keeps going off, the dog's going crazy, I'll just put that on and do like a breathing meditation. Boom, you're out of it. Honestly, you are just gone skis.
Thank you.
Usually the noise is what triggers your brain and it gets it going and it keeps it awake. Any tiny little thing, any little bit of light. So yeah, one of those sleep masks, noise cancelling earphones. Boom, you're out of it.
So the blue light blockers, do you put them on prior to going to bed for like the hour or two beforehand? What's the go there? Because it sounds like a great idea to me. Because stuck on the phone, it just keeps you like
it gives you a good excuse to continue using the screens without getting that like harsh blue light that keeps you awake and keeps you stimulated. So yeah, I put them on at like 5 p.m. and then I just leave them on until I go to bed. And they're just like, they don't enhance anything. They just literally block the light. So
is that to have a deeper sleep or is it to fall asleep quicker?
Both. So it blocks out the blue light that comes from screens that keeps your brain stimulated. So essentially it's supposed to put you to sleep faster and then send you into that deeper sleep state quicker. So
you must be like anti-TikTok and stuff like that. Otherwise, you just sit there for like 4 hours. What's your kryptonite? What's your social media kryptonite that you just sit there for like 40 minutes, 50 minutes, hour at a time? You're like, I should go to sleep, but I'm watching what's on Instagram.
Yeah, well, I do. I go down the rabbit hole like everyone else, and I sit there and scroll and click and Instagram's my vice, but I do have TikTok, but I don't. I don't run.
Instagram's the vice.
Do you delve into the explore page on Instagram?
It's a dangerous trap, but I do. Well, mostly I go through my little feed and I like want to see what everyone's up to, and then I go through like stories, and then I'm like, oh, that's interesting, or that's a pretty dress that comes up in the ads, and then
Did you know last episode we were talking about this lady on Instagram called Lil Michaela. She's this AI robot. You should definitely suss it out if you like Instagram. She's this artificial intelligence that has no real world presence. She has like more than 3 million followers. It's nuts.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's all fake. It's like, you ever seen those deep fake videos? No, deep fake's just like this AI
Am
experience
I missing something?
online.
Do you know like Emma Chamberlain?
No.
She's a vlogger, but she's a vlogger cross like Sims character.
Right.
Very weird. But 250K on YouTube subscribers, like really loyal. She just talks about her issues, which doesn't really make much sense.
Because she's
how people are listening to these issues.
Okay.
But people are receiving it and like.
They're loving it.
It's a weird loyalty.
But she's not real.
No.
That's so she talks about issues she could potentially have if she was a real human.
Yeah, she's like, guys, my coffee machine broke.
So in reality, like in idea, it's the most relatable thing because she can have every single issue that makes you relate with her, but she doesn't because she's not real.
I just thought I'd bring it up. You say you like your Instagram. It's something we spoke about last episode, and we all were just sitting there going, what the hell?
You want to be baffled and confused, like, what is the world coming to?
It actually still
good
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Influencers who are fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And you could just... this Lil Michaela robot... She has like deals with Samsung and things like that. So you can just push
brand deals.
Products.
Legitimate brand deals. She's Team Galaxy,
What?
Yeah.
It's insane. I think you'd like it. Anyway,
thanks.
You'll be skeptical. It's such a weird
thing.
thing.
Yeah, tonight I'll be like scrolling on my phone for 3 hours before bed.
The funny thing is when we're looking at our pictures, like, you know that they're fake, but like, that would perfectly and seamlessly fit into the rest of your feed.
Right.
Because every other sort of photo has some sort of adjustment and they don't stand out as that fake.
Right.
Which is very, very
it's mind-boggling.
We'll have to suss this out.
It's another rabbit hole.
Yeah, thanks. Great.
But I was wondering, like, if you're going overseas and always traveling for comps, has there ever been a moment where you're gone, oh shit, I forgot my bike? That's probably a hard one to forget because it's so big. But like, has there already been like, shit, I don't have my shoes here?
Yeah, never forgotten my bike. Thank God. Touch wood. But yeah, I have forgotten things like my bike shoes or my helmet or running shoes, stuff like that. Luckily, I travel with all the essentials, I guess, in my hand luggage. So I kind of like pre-pack all that and I have a little list so I know what's to pack. But yeah, luckily when you arrive at a race, there's like the expo and the whole thing around the race as well. So anything you do forget, you can usually buy, unless it's obviously like your bike, then you might be in trouble. But
40 grand later.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I have forgotten my race suit once, and I had to borrow one, but luckily someone had one. So
That's really nice.
yeah, that's probably the worst thing I've forgotten.
Yeah. Do you have like a set pre-routine or set sub-routine you do before every race? Like you have to do it before you compete in each race, or else you'll feel like you're not ready for it?
Yeah. I'm definitely a creature of habit, especially before a race, because I think like once you get into a routine, it just takes the nerves away. When you know exactly what you need to do, you just kind of go on autopilot and
Feels
just
familiar.
do. Yeah. And obviously it's like my warm-up routine, so I know it works, and it gets me in the zone, whatever else. So.
Is that something you learnt from doing it for 10 years or 8 years? Or
Yeah.
is that something, I believe Siri is your new coach?
Yeah.
Is that something she's taught you?
I think I've just learned it over the years, to be honest. Well, it's pretty standard. Like, obviously, you know that you need to warm up, so everything kind of works in around that. I have my warm up that I do the same every time, so I know that I need to start that an hour before the race starts. So then you kind of just work backwards. When do I need to wake up? When do I need to eat? And then everything kind of just falls into place and becomes routine on the morning.
So it sounds obviously a little bit specific in terms of hours to be here, times to be there. How in depth does it go? Because there's some cyclists who I watch on the world stage, and they only clip in first on the left-hand side. Then they only clip on the right. And they go through brake checks, left and right. They only do really, really, really intricate, detailed things in their warm-up. Are you like that? Or are you just like, okay, I'm here, I'm ready, let's just get going? Like, how in-depth
I'm
is
not
it?
fully OCD, but I definitely have like my little quirks. Yeah, but I think because our races start so early, there's not really time for all that kind of, fluffing around. Like you need to usually we start like 6:37, so you got to get up at like say 4:30 or 4, and then everything's kind of go from there.
Yeah, and it'd be pretty quick as well. Like everything just snowballs out of control, and next minute you're on the line. Ready.
100%. It feels like it's 1 minute race morning. But yeah, I think the biggest things are eating at the right time, because obviously you don't want food like sitting in your stomach differently. So I think,
you'd feel terrible.
2 hours before is like pretty much the key time for me. So I don't want to adjust that, and then everything else around that, I'm pretty flexible. But as long as I get my warm up, my food, then everything else, is pretty standard.
Is there a period of time you like just throw your phone away before the race, or you're probably waking up and you probably don't look at it, or?
I usually look at it like when I wake up, but that's it. And then I'll have it for music. For my warm up, I just obviously put on some
This is a very interesting topic. What's your go-to music? What's the songs that you put on and you're like, hell yeah, this is my jam, let's go!
To be honest, I just kind of put on like some R&B, hip hop kind of stuff, but yeah, nothing like super specific. I like the Kid Leroy for some reason. He kind of gets me in the zone a bit, but yeah, like nothing specific that I like go to every time. As long as it's got like a good beat, it's kind of fast, and yeah, it's good.
You know the Mountain, the powerlifter, world-class powerlifter? No, Mountain. He plays Hodor in the Game of Thrones. He's a big fella, big Icelandic fella.
Okay,
I think I know, yeah.
Okay, long story short, he's like pretty much one of the strongest men in the world. He's held deadlift world records, etc., etc. He sometimes listens to Taylor Swift because it makes him feel so angry. He trains extremely well, and then when people go, holy crap, man, like awesome lift, what are you listening to? He puts on Taylor Swift for them, and they just look at him like he's a psychopath.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, no, I can't
That's
say
not-
Taylor.
that's not your-
Taylor Swift is not my jam. Maybe I should try it.
But it's so interesting. Some people do that sort of stuff. It's really weird how you can psych yourself up or out with music. It's
Yeah, like reverse psychology almost. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll put like Baby Shark next time. See how that goes.
yeah, you'll just be like, get this shit off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I'll listen to music during my warm up, and then that's it. I don't look at my phone or like text anyone or stuff like that. So
Mum messages you, good luck, sweetie. I believe in you.
no thanks, Mum.
not right now.
Yeah, just complete zone out.
Yeah.
So nothing audio pumps you up, but it's just the routine of the morning, the familiarity of going through everything sort of prepares you, hypes you up, and gets you ready. What about on the mornings, the trainings, the 3 months out, the 4 months out, where it's cold and it's tough?
Like what motivates me?
What gets you out of bed there?
I think just the bigger goal of racing and knowing that that's coming up. That's really like what gets me up in the mornings. And then obviously the world championship, the big goal, becoming world champion. Like that's the big motivator, and that's
What a title!
Yeah, I know.
World champion. That is really cool though. I mean, hats off to you, because
thank you.
Sitting here, I mean, like we all aspire to some level of greatness in our personal life, but world champion, that's nuts. Like not many people can say, I was the world champion in my 20s to 30s. Like that's really cool.
Well, I mean, credit one of the guys we spoke to who's a powerlifter who probably would have been a world champion, but with powerlifting, there's so many different federations and you can't compete in every federation. So there's nothing that unifies a world champion. So at least you've got something that says, like, if like being number one, like you're world champion, like that's a cool thing to aim for. Because in powerlifting, that would have been tough to not know, like, I won, but where does that
my
put
ranking?
me? Yeah. Actually, I found something today of you that had it was almost like a FIFA power ranking from the Professional Triathletes Organization.
Yeah.
So, I mean, true to your word, it ranked your run as your strength. Or you might have said it was your favorite endeavor. And then bike 87%. And it was comparing everything to world number one, 100 being world number one, I think. That was...
so they compare it to the best in each discipline. So in comparison to the best runner in the sport, I'm 91% of her
capability sort of thing. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that a fair comparison?
Does that annoy you?
It actually annoys me, well, I don't think since this has been released only recently, it's judging by my previous best, I think 5 races or so. So I don't think I have displayed my full potential yet. So hopefully those numbers can increase later this year.
Do you know what's hilarious? I just look at that, like, 19th world ranking, and I just think, you know what? There's 3 billion people on this planet. That means if there was pardon me?
There's a lot more than 3, bro.
Oh, a lot more than 3. Just one.
Just double it.
Double it, put an extra bit. But, all right, 8 billion, right? That's a lot of people you're beating in this race.
And everybody knows how to run, pretty much. Like almost everybody can cycle. So being the top 9 or top 20 of something everyone can basically do. That's not bad.
How do you see it come world championship end of this year?
Well, obviously, I want to be number one.
What kind of question is that? I want to come 10.
I wouldn't mind 10. No, number one definitely is the goal. But yeah, I mean, it's going to take a lot of discipline between now and then, and a few more races. So yeah, eyes on the prize.
Yeah. When you guys race, do you have support cars with all your bikes on top, or no?
No. So we are responsible for everything. So if we get a flat or whatever, we have to change everything ourselves. So there's no outside assistance allowed. But at the bigger races like World Championships and that kind of thing, there's a support motorbike that goes around with 2 sets of spare wheels, and then most things that might be required. So for instance, they might have, I don't know, some chain lube or something like that. Like that. Yeah.
What's your flat change time? You time it?
Touch wood. I've never had to change one in a race. So I'm going to say hopefully under 5 minutes. Cool. I think that could potentially, even 5 minutes is not quick enough, so... You should
do a time trial for that.
There we go. Practice it every evening, just changing a tire.
Put it on your Instagram. All right, boom, 2-minute time trial for
there we go. I mean, I hope I never have to do that in a race.
Of course, yeah.
But I think having the support vehicle out there, I mean, by the time it gets to you, like, you probably could have changed the flat.
Yeah, you could have done it yourself, exactly.
On your own. Yeah. So, yeah. But at least it's a backup.
How seriously do you take just day-to-day nutrition? Is there... I mean, you'd be training so much that your output would be so high. Is it, okay, I don't mind what I eat. I'm going to try and be healthy, but I'll say yes to cake every now and then. I mean, that's how I am. like I'm pretty good, but I will delve into the... I'm bad with ice cream. I'll delve into ice cream.
That's my vice too.
Yeah, we spoke about this in the lead up to agreeing to do a marathon.
Yeah.
what sort of diets we're on.
Yeah.
And I said I was on a seafood diet.
Seafood and eat it.
Yeah. So where do you stand on the whole diet spectrum?
Yeah, well, I definitely go through phases in the year. So coming into, say, a bigger race or a world championship, I'll definitely dial it in, get really strict on it, that kind of thing. But obviously, like, you can't be too restrictive all year round. Otherwise, you just, end up resenting it and that kind of thing. So, yeah, I'm a little bit more lax, definitely in the off season or, earlier in the season. But yeah, as I'm coming into championship season later in the year, I definitely dial it in. Want to be in my best shape possible.
Does that look like tracking calories and macros and micros?
No, I don't do any tracking like that. I know that I'm obviously exercising a lot, so that, some people do, but for me that gets a little bit obsessive. So no, I just eat really healthy, really clean, and yeah, just really disciplined about when I'm eating and how often, and avoiding snacks or unhealthy snacks, I guess. So that kind of thing. But
I think it's really important to just make a note to everyone out there listening that what you said is that sometimes tracking does not equal winning. Like, sometimes it is a detriment to your overall success. I think it's very important. Like, everyone looks at these, like, you guys, professional athletes, and they go, wow, they must be tracking every minute of the day. They must be just thinking food this, diet that, exercise this. And it's cool to see that you're one of the few who doesn't go to that sort of extreme. Like, obviously you respect the power that diet plays in your overall performance, and like you take it seriously to look after your overall diet, but you're not sitting there going, oh, shit, 51 grains of rice, gotta take one off,
You know what annoys me about the tracking is, like, people will say they've got 2,200 calories for today, and they'll save, like, 400, and then they'll go eat 2 Krispy Kremes. It's like, yeah, it fits in your macros. But, like, what good is 2 Krispy Kremes? Like, I don't understand that.
Is it providing any usable energy?
There's no good stuff in that. It's like, but I've hit my macros.
Yeah. Well, I'm about fueling on good fuel, and that's going to actually correlate to, the output that you want. So, yeah, I'm the type of personality that gets quite hung up on numbers and that kind of thing. So I think if I was to record and log everything, I would just become, it would just send me crazy. So, yeah, I'm not about that. But, I definitely eat healthy. Like, I'm studying nutrition and dietetics, so it's something that really interests me. But yeah, I'm not one to sit there and write everything down and that kind of thing.
So with that studies, is that like a transition point for when you're, like, when you end up finishing this sport as your career? Are you going to use that as like your transition point to do coaching, dietitian?
Yeah, a bit of both. Like, obviously it goes hand in hand kind of with obviously triathlon and being a professional athlete. So I am using a lot of what I am learning for my own benefit. But then, obviously in the future, I do want to take care of that as well. So I'm hoping eventually, once triathlon kind of wraps up, maybe I can use it, as a dietitian, or I can use it to, I don't know, assist in coaching, for instance, or something like that. But at least I'll have that. And
in your back pocket. It's always good to have something in your back pocket, definitely.
What are most people doing wrong with their diet?
Eating too much, probably.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a big thing. Or just eating the wrong foods. A lot of people, it surprises me so much because a lot of people just don't know what's in the foods that they're eating. And that's probably the biggest thing.
It's like that Nutri-Grain thing.
Yeah, exactly. They've just got no concept of like what a carbohydrate is, for instance, or what foods contain carbohydrates. It's baffling to hear people go, oh, but this hasn't got carbs. It's healthy for me. And it's like a bowl of rice or something. It's just bizarre. But yeah, I think that people just don't have the education in food or food science.
Who do you think's responsible for that? Do you think it's the individual's responsibility to go and seek that information from the rest of the world? Or do you think it's the government or the industry's responsibility to educate the masses? Like, where do you sort of see the responsibility lies?
Well, I think at school that people should definitely learn the basics of nutrition and that kind of thing, eating healthy and all that kind of thing. I know we learnt that at school, but I know it's not taught everywhere. But yeah, I think then it's up to the individual to seek more information if they are unsure about something, or, they want to lose weight or they want to tone up a bit. I think it's up to them to learn how to eat properly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get the school to lay the foundations.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like that pyramid. It's like, how old is that pyramid?
Yeah.
With
Do they
Yeah.
still use that?
Or
Is that still being used, the food pyramid?
Yeah, and the plate. You know how they've got like the portions on the plate?
Yeah, because that's very general.
And it's
That-
only
Yeah.
and outdated.
primary. It's early days, isn't it? They only teach that in primary school. So when you
Yeah.
get to high school, it's like, all right, you should know by now. There's
Yeah.
no further
Where
information.
does this piece of cake fit
Yeah.
into the pyramid?
Where does this go?
Yeah.
And then you've got like a 7-Eleven or some convenience store always on the corner of every high school. It's like,
Yeah,
where are
there we
gonna
go.
for
And the
a
tuck
chiller
shop.
fix?
Oh
Yeah.
my god, this makes me
Well, the
hungry.
tuck shop are like, they're doing things to cut back.
Yeah.
Some of
Well,
them
they have
Some.
green, amber, and red rated foods.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's like a fire alert.
like-
That's what it reminds me of.
Traffic
Amber,
light.
yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure kids are only allowed X amount amber in a purchase and like
Oh.
one red in a purchase, and like no matter how much they kick and scream, like they're just going to be denied.
Oh, well.
Tuck shop
that's-
lady just throws down a hand. No more chicken nuggets.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a good improvement.
Yeah.
Something.
Apparently, like my sister's younger and she's at high school now, and yeah, she's sort of seen that you just get denied those foods if there's too many unhealthy ones, which is an improvement, of course, but
Yeah.
it also doesn't teach kids to like respect the power of food. They're just like, oh fuck
They got no
school, like they're
discipline.
taking away my
Yeah.
food. Yeah, they've got no discipline. It's
Mm.
someone else doing
Yeah.
it for them.
Yeah.
I think that's where you've made a good point. Like it should be school educating them first, and
Yeah.
then allow them to build that knowledge as they're going through. Definitely.
Discipline's a hard thing to teach as
Oh,
well.
shit,
Like,
yeah.
how do you teach discipline?
Especially with food. Because you're basically driven by your tastes
Oh,
or
yeah.
what you like. Or
Pure emotion.
Yeah.
Do you do like 3 meals a day? Do you do like 4 meals a day? What's your go-to at the moment?
3 meals a day, and then if I do get hungry in between, like obviously it's a healthy snack, so yogurt or like rice cakes or something like that I know is gonna actually like fuel me for a session rather than be a hindrance. So
Yeah, it's so interesting. This is why we need more knowledge around food. You're over here having like 3 meals, and I'm watching bodybuilders and powerlifters have like 5-6 meals a day.
Yeah,
Eddie
or
Hall
more.
gets in there, eats like a full English breakfast.
yeah, I mean
It's nuts.
100% vary sport to sport, but that's what I found works for me. So yeah, stick to what works, right?
It's amazing that no one, like, because you've got the, I guess, professional athlete community that sort of knows. They sort of know, and that they've somehow taught themselves discipline. And there's some people that don't know, and you're like, as a armchair expert, you're sort of like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you going out and partying? But like, how does a normal person learn discipline?
Well, I think the biggest thing is to have a goal or have
Yeah.
like set yourself little goals, whether they be like a lofty goal, like a world championship, or whether they be like, I'm going to eat super healthy for 1 week and see what happens kind of thing. Do I feel better? Like, I think people just need to have goals. Like that's what it comes down to. Something to keep you accountable, keep you on track. Yeah.
I think it's definitely important to have the lofty goal. I think that's one thing that people don't respect enough. You've got to set some ridiculous goal. Like by the end of the next 5 years, I'm going to lift a 400 kilo squat.
Yeah.
And then you do like the stepping stone goals.
Exactly.
Because I feel like if you just only do the stepping stone goal, you're not reaching anywhere. You're just going to falter after like 2 weeks, 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Gives you an
You sort of
excuse to
need those-
stop.
You need the lofty
Yeah.
goal, definitely.
But you definitely need the small ones as well, because otherwise it looks too unattainable.
Yeah.
Little
you
wins to
can't
keep you
see,
going.
Exactly, you
Yeah.
can't see the little improvements. Yeah.
What's little wins or little I guess markers that you're moving in the right direction with changing that up there to
Yeah.
number one?
Well, I guess for me, like all the other races throughout the year that come before the World Championship, and then in training, I want to be hitting like certain numbers or certain times, and just seeing them like slowly, obviously improve is what helps me get to that.
How often do you time trial? Like once a week?
It depends. Like we'll often, as I'm coming into a bigger race, we'll often do the same, like maybe one particular session week after week.
Yeah.
So like every Wednesday we might
Make
do
it
this
measurable.
particular running set, and then exactly, you've got the same session, the same like stimulus, that kind of thing. So it's every week you can see slight improvements.
What
Go for it, dude. I was wondering what your training ratio is.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, you were? Oh, that's so interesting. Mind-reading. Yeah, I was wondering, are you doing like a 5 and 2? Are you doing a 6 and 1, a 7 and 0? What's your training split?
Yeah, well, right now at this period in the year, so obviously being June, and I don't have the World Championship till September, I'm doing a 6 and 1.
Yeah, cool.
So, yeah, and we have done that right through the year so far. Right from January, it's been 6 and 1. So... but we'll get more specific as it comes closer to championship season.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Is that the ice cream day? I love ice cream. My partner and I love it.
It's a recovery day, not a cheat day.
Rubbish.
I get so upset.
She's lying.
I get so upset when people call them cheat days because it's like, well, why cheat yourself? Like you put all this hard work in. Why undo everything?
Well,
That's the Rock. I'm telling you, that's the Rock.
Yeah.
When's the ice cream day? When is it? You said it was your vice.
I mean, I don't restrict myself, but maybe once a week, one scoop of ice cream.
What's the go-to flavour?
Cookies and cream.
Cookies and
Hands
cream.
down.
Actually, we had a little game set up. It was called Over and Under, and we set it up for ice cream flavors, and we're just going to fire off a couple.
Yeah.
Are they overrated?
Yeah.
Are they underrated? Or are they adequately rated? Just by like popular society's beliefs.
All right.
And don't think too hard. Just
Straight
straight
fire
away.
off.
Okay.
Choc mint,
Definitely overrated.
rainbow.
Adequately.
Wow. Oh, no.
I think it's good. Except the ones that's like too much bubble gum. You know, when it's like bubble gum
it's
flavor.
got
It's like all the blue and stuff.
I haven't had it in about 10 years.
Yeah, it's definitely a kid thing.
Cookies and cream,
Underrated.
salted caramel,
Underrated.
rum and raisin,
Oh, overrated.
Oh, no, completely disagree.
coffee flavor,
Adequate.
sorbets. We just group them.
way-
We still hated
Sorbets,
it.
there's
Way overrated.
Yeah,
Yeah.
way overrated. Too much ice?
They need dairy.
Are you a vanilla or a chocolate person?
Chocolate.
Rocky Road?
Nah. Not my go-to, but I would eat it if it was
Cotton
there.
candy
No.
and caramel.
Oh, yeah. Caramel. Yeah,
Okay,
especially
yeah.
salted caramel. Yeah.
Oh, I'm a huge caramel person as well.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with that rainbow.
Rainbow? You don't like rainbow?
No, I don't know.
You can't judge if you haven't eaten it
Yeah.
in 10 years.
It
That's
was just
great.
adequately
Yeah.
rated. It wasn't like it was
Yeah, it
underrated.
wasn't. I
It
don't
wasn't
rave
coming out of
about
2
it,
hard.
but I
Yeah,
would
that's-
eat it if it was on the table. You know. Like,
Actually, great point. I did the same.
Yeah, actually, any of those flavors I would eat. If
Luke just talking so shit. He's just like, no, don't agree, but I'd eat it if it was there.
I wouldn't
Eat it
order it. I
anyway.
wouldn't order it. But
Yeah, exactly,
But, like
yeah.
you're giving it to me. I'm too
Yeah.
polite of a person to say no.
Or I might get a sample of it just to make sure I still don't like it. I'm that person that goes into the ice cream shop and is like, can I have a sample of everything? And then I'll make my decision.
And is it the same one you've chose every single time as well?
Yeah, exactly. Still go back to the same one. Yeah.
I'll pretend I'm interested in these ones, but really I know what I'm
Today
getting
I'm going to
already.
get something different, and then you always get the same one.
Waffle cone or cup?
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
that's tough.
I do like the waffle cone, but I find it like messy. So it depends, like if I'm eating it in the car.
You're just not eating fast enough.
Yeah, I know. And then like I always bite the bottom of the cone, and oh no, and it goes everywhere.
Drumsticks are good for that though, because they've got that
Yeah.
ability to do it with the chocolate at the bottom.
Yeah. I haven't had a drumstick
It's a
in long
science.
time.
It's a science behind
There
it.
is a science to this.
But going back to like your split, so 6 and 1 at the moment.
Good segue back to exercise. Yeah.
Is it because there's not enough days in the week to have one day for running, one day for biking, one day for swimming? How do you combine?
Well,
I mean,
that's
there is.
there you
Sorry, there is.
That's 3 out of 7.
But
You could even have a tyre changing day.
Practice. Schedule that in.
how do you manage splitting it up? Is there ways you like to combine different disciplines?
Yeah, so there's usually 2 to 3 disciplines a day. And then I have 2 strength sessions in there as well. So it's 20 to 25 hours a week of training across the board. And then, so usually Saturday's pretty much the only day where I just ride. It'll be a long ride, and sometimes I'll run off the bike as well. So usually, 2 or 3 different disciplines each day.
Wow, that's pretty cool. And then, so how long's a long ride?
It depends on the time of the year, but anywhere between 3 and 5.5 typically. So if I'm in a big base block, it'll be longer. And then if I'm like sharpening up for a race, for instance, it might be 3, but it might have intervals in it.
Favorite spot in the world to, if it's in Andorra when you were training in Basque or in Boulder, or an event? where's the coolest place for a long ride?
Oh, Boulder for sure. Yeah, I mean,
Mountains
you
and
can
all
ride hours in the mountains, and hours feel like minutes. It's
Do you ever
Yeah, minutes feel
feel
like hours. Yeah, minutes feel like hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whatever. But
In a good way.
You can ride in the mountains for
Time
hours,
goes
and then,
quick.
go so
Wow.
quick.
Do you ever do mountain running? So my cousin lives over in Italy,
yeah.
and she tries to spend as often as possible hiking and then running through the Alps. You ever done that?
Well, I'm a little bit of a liability off-road, so...
Is that-
shit,
is
should they go left or right?
Is that
No, I just
navigation?
twist ankles.
Oh.
And
Oh, that's not
I'm
good. No,
terrible.
stay away
terrible.
from that then.
Yeah, so I do a bit of trail running, like up high in the mountains, especially in Boulder. Like, there's so many places to run, but it's more like dirt roads.
Okay, cool.
I wouldn't say it's very adventurous.
No, not too cross-country, but still getting out
yeah,
in nature.
and it's high altitude, and yeah, it's good.
And because your coach, Siri, is based in Boulder,
Yes.
how did you meet or come across her?
Well, actually, when I left the sport in 2013 and took 6 months away, I decided to come back, and I contacted my mentor growing up, Loretta Harrop, and asked her to coach me. But she had kids, and her priorities were kind of all different at the time, and she put me in touch with Siri, who's her best friend. So she said, this Siri is going to coach you. She's going to take you on. So I had a phone call with Siri, and she basically said, oh, well, you're going to move to Boulder next week. So pack your bags, book a
Just
flight.
move over.
So that was how that worked.
So you really wanted to get back into the sport then if you're like, all right, I'll go.
Yeah, well, I felt like I had unfinished business. That was the main reason I wanted to come back to it. I was just needed to kind of get out of this rut that I was in. And then once I got that out of my system, 6 months of just doing everything other than triathlon. And then I missed it. I had unfinished business, and I just felt like it was just waiting for me to go back to.
Yeah, sometimes you get called back into things, hey?
100%,
You're just like, I can't get away from this.
Yeah, and I think all I needed was just, like a change of environment, to experience life on the other side for a little bit, and then realize that, I actually do enjoy this. I just needed some time to realize that.
And Siri seems to be very involved with Tony Robbins just by checking out her Instagram.
Yeah.
It's a rabbit hole, like you said.
Yeah.
Has she passed on any of that to you?
Yeah, so obviously she is motivational speaking as part of his team. Yeah, and she's an author. So yeah, I mean, a lot of what she teaches us, through coaching and that kind of thing, is what she talks about in her performances or shows. So yeah, I mean, I already know a lot about her life and that kind of thing from working with her for 8 years now. But yeah, I mean, every time she talks about her experiences and her life, I learn something new. So I think it's really cool that she's been a world champion twice herself. So she sat where I want to sit. So it's really cool to learn and just take everything in, all those experiences that she's had.
And probably she understands the inner game very well by working with Tony Robbins as well, and is able to pass that on. Is that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, he is an incredible person himself.
Course.
So yeah, I guess she's learning a lot from him, and then she's able to pass that on to us. And then obviously we listen to him as well. And so yeah, we form this little team, and yeah, it's a very motivating kind of
That's awesome.
place to be.
Where did Tony learn all this stuff? Because I've listened to a bit of his stuff. I did his virtual UPW last year, but because he's got so much knowledge and he's got so many incredible referrals. How does he?
To be honest, I don't know. I have no idea. You might have to ask Siri or him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about him or his past per se, but I know that. Yeah, I've listened to him speak, and it's mind-blowing.
You've gone to a
It's
few
incredible.
of his talks?
I haven't been to them, but I've heard him speak, just online and that kind of thing, but I haven't been face-to-face.
That Netflix show about his,
that was cool.
What was it called? I don't know. He was at one seminar, and I just remember him saying to a guy who seemed to be on the verge of suicide, he goes, "Is it because your shoes are red?" And he's wearing red Jordans. And he's like, "What?" He goes, "Is it because you're wearing red shoes?" And he's just slowly breaking this psychological loop that he's in.
Yeah.
And he goes, "You're wearing fucking red shoes."
Yeah.
And then everyone just starts to laugh, and he just starts to
interesting,
become more jovial. But very weird that that's the thing you would say to someone who's said he was suicidal. I don't know, just very smart dude.
There's got to be a
knows
huge
lot.
amount of psychology behind what he does and how he acts, especially around those kinds of people that are maybe on the edge or like experiencing things like, I mean, there's got to be a science and art behind
a lot of these speakers are incredible with their quick decisions. I was watching one guy who, Grant Cardone, he's basically this multi-billionaire, and he basically goes and says straight away to his sales audience, he goes, is it because you're not the decision maker, because you're confused, or because you don't believe in the option? It's funny how like these people, without second guessing themselves, they'll just come up with the best thing to say in that moment. And it's cool that you've got these people in your corner, because right before a race, they'll know what to say when they see 100%. One little thing and they're like, oh, she's not in the zone yet. And they'll just put you on blast.
Or when I'm not with Siri, like she sends me this huge email the night before the race, and it's just everything that I have been thinking, or like, you know, any doubts that I may have, she just answers everything, or just touches on all of that in this email. It's amazing. It's like she knows what I'm thinking.
So, this is not stuff that you even bring up to her. You don't say like,
no,
hey,
I don't say it. I think it's because she sat where I'm sitting, and she knows exactly the way I'll be feeling the night before a race, or any like doubts or, you know, expectations that I put on myself. Shoes. Yeah, exactly. She's been there. She knows how I'll be feeling, and she just lays it all out in this email. Brilliant. And I think sometimes when somebody asks you a particular question, it gives you time to think about it. It makes you really question yourself, or question like what they've asked. And so I think she does that to me, and she's like, well, you know, you've done the work. And so I'm like, well, yeah, I know I've done the work. Why am I doubting that I've done the work? You know, so it's just like reassurance basically. But yeah, she knows exactly what to say to me.
It's brilliant having those people in your corner.
Do you have that email? Is there like bits you could bring up and mention? Because like I feel just going into a competition and having those sort of reminders would be phenomenal.
I mean, I saved them all. Yeah, but, I mean, I have to dig them out. Yeah. But yeah, it's basically just like, you know, I know you're probably like nervous, thinking that maybe you don't belong, stuff like that. But she's basically like, you need to remind yourself you do belong. Go back and look at all your training diaries, like look at the work we've done, the improvements we've made, just stuff like that. It's like, wow, yeah, like I'm actually good at this. Like I can do this. You know?
That's super interesting. You just made two really quick comments that I just want to bring up. So Dorian Yates, one of my favorite bodybuilders, he used to keep a training journal of everything he did, every rep, how it felt after the set, every training. So do you keep a training journal, do you?
100%, yeah. Every session the same, how I felt, like, you know, that kind of thing.
I've been saying to the boys that, like, I keep a journal for my private life, how I'm going through things at work and personal stuff. Yep. But I also have I've started a journal for training, for my weightlifting. It's brilliant. I'm trying to get them onto it.
Yeah.
Do you think it's something that majority of athletes would benefit from?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, especially for someone like who's racing or has an event planned. You can just go back and look at where you've come, how far you've come, like the work that you put in. It's so reassuring. Like it's such a confidence boost to be able to see the hard work and what you've put into this particular goal, and like why you deserve to be there, or why you deserve to achieve the goal you've set for yourself.
Yeah, and
it's really powerful.
Yeah, I think you're right there. It is definitely powerful. The second thing I wanted to bring up, so David Goggins, he talks about the cookie jar, and the cookie jar being that thing where when you're down in the dumps or during your race, before your race, you're like, oh, fuck, I don't know if I can really do this. He says you go in the cookie jar and you pull out all the cookies, and when you bite in them, they just taste so good, and that makes you feel good. Would you say that you've, over the course of your training, at the years of competing, you've developed said cookie jar where you've got these things to draw on, and you're like, holy shit, you know, 2015, I remember that one time where I was racing, I passed this person, that's how I felt? Or do you just not take that into consideration, you just think about the present?
Well, if I've had a good experience somewhere, then I like to draw from it. But any negative experiences that I've had, I try and forget about them, because then you can get kind of caught up. For instance, if you have a particular course that you've never had a good race on, and it's really difficult to overcome that if you keep being like, oh, well, I've never had a good race in this place. Like, how am I going to have it now? Or like, why it's cursed or something. It keeps going wrong. So that kind of thing, I try and
get rid of.
Yeah, avoid that. But yeah, if I've had a great experience, then I'm like, oh, well, I always have a great race here. Like, there's great, like, energy here. Like,
when you have those bad races, you're like, well, this is the time for the good one. So you're like a glass half full.
Exactly. Yeah. Otherwise, you kind of just use it a clean slate. Like, it doesn't matter what's happened in the past. Like, I'm going to go to this destination. I'm going to race here. It doesn't matter, how many times I've been here or whatever's happened. This is just, it's now that matters.
Brand new.
Exactly.
Do you ever reflect on the bad races just after they happen and go look back at your past diaries to sort of figure out like what could have gone wrong or how your prep could have changed in the lead up?
Yeah, well, 100%. I think the bad races are the ones you learn the most from, but you can't dwell on them. So I give myself probably 2 or 3 days after the race to really be emotional and dwell on things and, let myself be annoyed, frustrated, all the rest of it. And then I have to learn from it. So that's when I go back, and the next few days I'll spend going back just over the race, basically. What's gone wrong? What happened? Why didn't I have a good race? What could I have done better? Was there anything in the lead up? My nutrition, like anything that I need to do better or could have done better that caused this
And you
result.
just nitpick everything.
Everything, yeah, 100%.
Do you guys get film of these races?
Sometimes. It depends on the event and like which photographers and that kind of thing are around, yeah. So sometimes we have footage, sometimes we don't.
Are we allowed drones in the sport now? Because I think that'd be sick, right? Like if you had maybe some kind of GPS in the heel of your shoe or like on the back of your jersey, you could have a drone just following you, filming you.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you think that's like the future maybe for it? Or?
Certain races you're allowed drones. Obviously there's a lot of kind of loopholes and things that you have to, deal with to do with drones. Yeah. And you obviously can't have them over certain, you can't have them right over an athlete or too close to an athlete or over the water, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, the sport's definitely progressing. But yeah, I think there's definitely gains still that can be made in that side of like media coverage, all that kind of thing. But yeah, it's getting there.
Going back to the note, is there anything that you've noticed that, I don't want to dwell, but like you've been particularly bad at, or you like have 2 races?
He wants.
No, I'm just curious. Is there any
tips?
No, is there anything that's like, okay, like this was the same issue as last time?
Yeah.
Do we look at this a bit more seriously now?
Yeah, I think for a long time, especially when I was like a younger athlete, I had a real like mental block with nerves. Like that was a big thing for me, and it took. Every race was just like I would get so nervous that I just literally talked myself out of racing.
Knees weak, palms are sweaty.
Yeah, there we go.
Palms are dirty.
But yeah, so I think that for me was a huge hurdle, and I ended up going to a sports psychologist, and he gave me like this great kind of toolbox essentially of just little cues. If I notice these thoughts coming into my head, then I can replace them with something that's actually going to be beneficial. And yeah, so I think that was something that I really had to work on, but it was obvious what was the concern.
That's interesting. Like, what was some of the things that you would work on?
Well, just acknowledging a thought, but not actually acknowledge that you're actually having it, but not letting it consume you. Yeah, don't entertain it. Exactly. So, yeah, it's just, I guess your mind has a funny way of protecting you. So I think when you have something impending that's potentially scary or, might make you nervous, then your brain starts to bring all these negative thoughts to protect you to back out of that, like it's a scary situation, So I think you've got to acknowledge that you're having it, but then you can always turn it around and make that thought become a positive one. There's always a positive light to every thought you're having, It's like, you bring in a negative thought, say, oh, what happens if I get a flat tire? So then, it makes you basically think, okay, well, now I need to do everything I can. I need to check my tires. I need to make sure they're new. I need to ensure they're pumped up properly.
Preventative measures.
Exactly, yeah.
So interesting that you just then only touched on that the nerves can be... your brain will try to protect you from the nerves and the thought of this impending doom that is this race.
Yeah.
But you've not once mentioned that your brain's actually trying to protect you physically from this race. Because I think you really need to take into consideration that 50% of the world's population will never achieve anything close like this. Their body would die. People would die doing these races. And that's probably your brain going, holy fuck, what are you doing? Stop.
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing that I've realized over time is that your brain will give up long before your body will. And that's a protective mechanism. Everyone's got it. So I think it's about overcoming what your brain's telling you, because you'll start getting the lactic acid, all those signals to stop. Your body's telling you, like, stop, this is too much, this hurts too much, like, back out of this. And you'll start getting those really negative thoughts and things like that. But it's basically who can push through that and who can overcome that barrier.
David Goggins says this all the time. He's got a 40% rule.
Exactly. That's it. The science behind it's the 40% rule.
One of the things Dad would always say to me as a kid was, a car, like, when that runs out of gas, it's not going anywhere, but you're not a car.
Exactly.
So, like, it's probably just your mind.
Yeah.
And that can be taken way too extreme as well. But like, for most athletic endeavors, it is your mind that's telling you to slow down, and it is the sore legs because of lactic acid or whatever. But did you ever feel like expectation on you was greater than, I don't know, than your belief in yourself, or did that ever get to you?
Yeah, I think definitely, especially as a younger athlete, it was the expectation I was putting on myself that was bringing all that nervousness and that negativity surrounding a race, because I just had this extreme expectation on myself that I had to win and I had to prove this point to everybody that I was great or going to be
like
great.
17 years old, it's like, I'm going to be the world champion.
Yeah, and I think that comes with, starting the sport or going professional so young, is that there's this extreme, like, urgency to, I want to be the best now, Like,
you don't see things in the grand scheme of time.
Exactly.
You're just like, I've got a year to be a champion.
Exactly. You've got no concept of, like, working towards this goal. It's like, I need it now to prove that I'm worthy of being here.
Do you think that's, like, your number one feedback to younger you? If you could go back and redo all of this, would that be your go-to thing to say? Be like, hey, take into consideration that you're 17 and, like, you'll be a champion one day.
Oh, 100%. I would go back. Well, I would tell kids now at 17, like, just enjoy it, relax. Like, you've got time, and you're not peaking at 17. Like, you've got all this time, like, have fun, do other sports, be social. Like, right now it's just about enjoying it. And I think I wish I knew that at the time, because even, like, school cross countries and athletics competitions and all that kind of thing in high school, it was like the be all and end all for me. Like,
it was like there's no enjoyment.
Exactly. I put so much pressure on those things, and looking back at that now, I'm like, why? Like, why did that even matter back?
No difference.
Like doesn't.
It's
no one
hard
remembers
that, like,
that.
in that moment, it's hard to. It's I guess hindsight's pretty good, but like, in that moment, you're so worked up especially in school. Like, because I was a good runner in school as well, and I always hated the school athletics day or the school cross country, because our school, well, we weren't staying in school, but we had a lot of good runners, and I don't know whether people actually spoke about it, but it was on my mind, is so-and-so going to beat, like, who's going to win?
Yeah.
And all the age groups are really strong. So you never wanted to get beaten by someone below you.
Yeah, exactly.
So there's, like, so much, and I always loved it when it coincided with a bigger event outside of school. This is like, okay, I'm training, I'm tapering or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's like, I've got the excuse from my coach to take it easy. And this is why I don't know, for me, like, in school, I had a lot of expectation on myself and thoughts from other people.
That's literally so I got into high school through cross country, placing for, like, Queensland teams and stuff like that, etc., etc. And the people I used to run with eventually became, like, Australian champions. Justin Curry was a weapon, and I had multiple classes with him.
Yeah. And
that, I think that stress is what turned me away from running for a little bit. I then had a stint of just weightlifting, powerlifting as heavy as I could. And I've recently got back into running with my partner. And I honestly think that I'm probably faster now and happier now with the running as a sport than I ever was, purely because of that pressure. I think it's definitely a big factor, like, that pressure when you're at such a young age and you're just like, not enjoying any of these cross-country days because I've got to be the best. It's like, dude, it's a cross-country
at
school.
that age, because you don't learn how to deal with the expectation, or you haven't had to. You're not old enough to learn, to know how to deal with that. So, I think at a really young age, it's important not to put those expectations on yourself, because ultimately, like, now they don't really mean anything.
No, nothing at all.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you probably don't even remember half those days. Yeah.
So whilst I agree with what you're saying, I'll play the devil's advocate here. Do you think that it is important to form a funnel your mindset funnel when you're 17 and 18 in order to become a world champion. Because whilst we are all sitting here in agreement saying that it's probably not healthy to stress and be a perfectionist when you're 17, saying I've got to be a world champion now, or just any kind of champion, any sport now. Do you think that funnel's important and that's what makes you great?
Well, I definitely agree with instilling like the importance of hard work, dedication, discipline, all that stuff at a really young age, and especially those formative teenage years. But I don't agree with entirely specializing and putting your entire life on hold for this one particular goal that you're still unsure whether you actually want or not. So you don't know what you want at 17.
And it's also potentially one injury away.
Exactly, yeah. And I mean, I didn't know I wanted to be a world champion. Like, I liked the idea of being a world champion when I was 17, but I had no idea what I wanted.
Yeah, it was more a fantasy. Exactly,
yeah. So I felt like I put all my eggs in this particular basket way too young, I hadn't worked out what I wanted, and I hadn't worked out how to deal with the expectation that came with, having all my eggs in one basket.
How do you think it'd be in a sport like soccer where at 17, there's a lot
signed.
of people going pro, at 13, you're, I don't know, more than
you don't have a window to take a break.
Yeah,
that
that
you
doesn't
just miss your
exist.
opportunity, essentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the football world is it's prime time 17 through to 24. That's prime time.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's
it extends a little bit later and starts a bit.
Sure,
it's more 21 through to.
Yeah, but dude, you know what I'm saying? You
There are
make
people
most
that
of most of the professional money made for young athletes would be during that time. I don't know. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Well, and
I
then
think
there's
it's
the
important.
argument about whether putting money and that kind of thing in young people's hands is a great idea.
How do you stand about that? Because
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think it depends on the person entirely. I mean, some people are very good with dealing with that kind of thing, and they're very calculated about what they do with it. And then there's, on the other hand, obviously, there's kids that you put millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars in a 17 or 18
which is a lot of the
hand.
American sports.
Exactly, or
even
even football here. Young kids or just finished high school, they don't know what to do with it, and often they make incorrect or wrong decisions about,
There should be a course they have to go through just to
Maybe
money management. No, literally, money
budgeting.
management course when you get your first big contract. This is what
What if
you
that was
probably should be doing with some of this money at least.
Maybe if there was a locked account, you don't get to touch this account until you're 18.
I agree, a trust fund kind of
Do
thing.
you think that would be reasonable to do?
But then you've got to ask when would you let them have it?
It would be 18 that happened. And most of them, that's when they're breaking into these.
And just
sports,
say
though.
they
No
have
earlier
to have this money management course completed.
Yeah.
At age 18 before they're allowed to touch that money. I feel like that's reasonable. I mean, all we're doing then is protecting them from these shitty life decisions.
Self-sabotage.
I agree, but who are we to protect them? Because they earn the money. I
The club
completely
should
agree.
be doing it, or the
But
people
but
that
it's
are taking the money.
Or maybe they could filter it across the period of their contract in a manner that's a weekly payment
rather than lump sums.
American sports love a lump sum at the beginning,
yeah.
just a guaranteed money
$40
straight up. Yeah.
Even though you're
Signing
18,
bonus.
go have fun.
Yeah. Does that make it easier to make a bad life choice though as well?
Yeah.
Makes it easy to
maybe.
blow very quickly.
Yeah. Well, it gives you, I guess...
Gives you Mustang.
Yeah, exactly.
A few.
Yeah.
You get a lot of them.
It gives you fuel to make the bad decision.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Ellie, where can they find you?
On Instagram, Ellie Salthouse1, and on my website, elliesalthouse.com.
Awesome. It's been great chatting to you, so thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
And good luck with the move, or the 6-month move to Honduras, followed by Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.